Yeah! Hello, I look like a drug-addicted ex-child star at the moment. The reason for that being is that I am doing my dissertation for university. A dissertation is just basically a really long essay. Now, what most people do during the dissertation is they grow a beard until they finish their dissertation, then they shave it all off. Slight problem with me though is that the hair here doesn't ever seem to really grow. So I'm sporting a dissertation goatee. So just apologies for the goatee what's appearing, okay? Good, we've got that sorted. Now many of you may be aware, and many of you may not be aware, that there's an event coming up in England very, very shortly. The Royal Wedding. Now for those of you who are not aware what the Royal Wedding is, basically the grandson of the Queen, Prince William, is getting married to a lovely lady called Kate Middleton. Now she's especially lovely because she doesn't look like a member of royalty, and she's rather attractive. Well, I suppose obviously if she doesn't look like a member of royalty. Now this is going to be quite a big event in England, so I'm going to get into that next week, but at the moment this is part one of a special on the royal family. Da 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 da. The royal family. Part 1. An explanation of what in the hell the royal family actually is. So I'm just going to explain what exactly the royal family is, what its role in society is, and its history. Now before 1000 AD, the Kingdom of England was kind of not a kingdom. It was basically just a big patch of land where loads of different people formed little groups and fought amongst each other. But because there was loads and loads of Viking attacks on England, sorry, I just have to take a moment because saying Viking attacks is just so awesome. So because there were so many Viking attacks, a certain person called Alfred the Great started to build up quite a resistance to these Vikings. And in doing so, his little kingdom became the most powerful kingdom in England. So what do you do when you're the person of the most powerful kingdom in England? You just claim that you're the king of the entirety of England. Which is exactly what he did. And to be fair, I think he deserved it, because it really takes balls to just claim that you own a country. And it did actually kind of work out for him, because his grandson, a Felstian or something like that, was actually the first person who did rule over all of England. Now that was working out pretty well for quite a few years, and then someone called Harold II was ruling over England, and they hit a bit of a snag. So basically the French came over the seas in a year 1066, and they had a bone to pick with the English King Harold. So they shot him in the eye with an arrow. Yeah, and the French took over England. And this was actually a really good thing. We weren't exactly the most civilised and great country in the world by any means. Then the French came and introduced all sorts of new language, culture, all those good things what England likes now. So really, the French are to thank for everything what's good about England. Cheers, mates. Now it went from William to a Henry. So anyway, Henry was quite progressive for like 1000 years in the past, and named his daughter Matilda as the next king. Or queen. And then he died, and Matilda didn't get to be queen. Needless to say, the monarchy at this time wasn't exactly a streamlined system. Pretty much anyone who got to be king, it was because they murdered someone, or because they were the whitest, most mannish guy in the room at the time. And because they were giving the king thing away to pretty much anyone, there was a lot of problems with the barons at the time, who were basically the people who looked after each area of England, and a massive problem with religion. Now this all reaches a head when we reach King Henry VIII. Now Henry VIII is famous because he had lots and lots of pussy, which is quite impressive when you think about the fact that he's a Roman Catholic. So then Henry made the Church of England. Then a new ruler came along, and it was Queen Mary. And she decided that the entire country should be Catholic again, and that Protestants should be burnt. So she set fire to a load of Protestants, and then Queen Elizabeth came along, and she decided that she's a Protestant, and so the entire country should be Protestant. So then everyone was Protestant. It's no wonder England isn't very religious anymore. I mean, here you pick a religion, you're probably going to get burned at the stake for it in like 20 years. Now Queen Elizabeth was probably the strongest ruler we're probably ever going to have. She built up an enormous empire, as you might be aware. Then eventually all the colonies who had enough balls to basically just tell us we were being massive throbbing cocks just upped and left. Well, they kind of shot and left. I'm looking at you, America, you sly dogs. Then Ireland decided we were kind of being pricks in the 1920s and they left. And then after World War II, pretty much everyone else decided, you know what, if you're going to just drag us into wars all the time, then fuck you very much. and they all left too. So now we get to the modern times, where there's not really a need for a monarchy because we don't have an empire. We've kind of got democracy now, with Parliament and the House of Lords, and so the monarchy doesn't really have much to do. In fact, the state of the monarchy at the moment, they pretty much don't do anything. Effectively, every time a new law is passed by the democratic people, the Queen has to sign a little form and go, yes, I like this law, you can pass it. However, she has never, ever said no to a law. Do you want to know why? It's because our taxes actually pay for the royal family. Yep, we get taxed for the Queen. Effectively, she's on our allowance. And if she pissed us off too much by saying no to laws which we'd voted for, so then we just make it that we don't pay them taxes anymore. So it's kind of in the Queen's best interest to just feed her corgis and pass all the laws we want her to. So, with that in mind, what's the big deal about the royal wedding? So, next week I'm going to dive right in to the royal wedding itself and show you the massive effect it's currently having on our society. It truly is something that everyone's talking about. But for now, I'm going to sign off with This Week in Headlines. These are all going to be from Chat Magazine. What do we have first? OMG, addicted to soap powder? What is she doing? She's eating soap powder, that crazy... Oh, and what is this? But I'm clean now. The toddler left to rot in the shed. Oh, that's not funny at all. And finally, she bit off my ear. Then the dog swallowed it. Thank you very much. I'll see you next week for the second part of this episode.